Every emotional moment has a trigger. In Kelly's case, it wasn't the headline topic, it wasn't the joke, it wasn't even the segment itself. It was a single line, delivered casually, that touched something deeply personal. Viewers might not remember the words, but Kelly did, because they echoed something she had been carrying silently: the fear of not being enough, the exhaustion of always being on, and the quiet realization that even strong people reach breaking points. Her pause wasn't confusion, it was recognition. And once that happens, emotion follows. Many asked later, why didn't she step away? Why didn't producers cut? The answer is simple: because Kelly Ripa is a professional who believes in finishing what she starts, but also because walking off would have meant admitting something she wasn't ready to say out loud: that she was tired, that she was overwhelmed, that even someone who seems to have it all can still feel fragile. Instead, she stayed, she breathed, she pushed through, and in doing so, she showed something rare on television: quiet resilience. Once the cameras stopped rolling, Kelly didn't collapse. She didn't cry dramatically backstage. She sat quietly. Mark was there. No words, no speeches, just presence. Those who witnessed it say the moment was deeply human. Two people sharing silence, understanding without explanation. This wasn't a meltdown. It was a release. And once released, Kelly returned the next day, composed, smiling, professional. But something had shifted. The reason this moment resonated so widely isn't because it was sad, it's because it was familiar. Millions of viewers saw a woman trying to hold it together at work while carrying unseen emotional weight, something parents, partners, caregivers, and professionals experience every day. Kelly didn't break because she was weak, she broke because she had been strong for too long without pause. And in that moment, she reminded everyone watching that strength doesn't mean silence. Sometimes it means allowing yourself to feel. There was no tragedy announcement, no hidden scandal, no secret collapse. What happened was something far more honest, a human moment amplified by live television. Speculation may drive clicks, but truth builds trust. And the truth is this: Kelly Ripa's on-air breakdown wasn't caused by one event. It was the result of emotional accumulation, professional pressure, and personal responsibility converging in one unscripted moment. Without speeches, without statements, without explanations, Kelly and Mark showed something powerful. That partnership means support without spotlight. That emotion doesn't cancel professionalism. That vulnerability doesn't erase strength. Sometimes, the most meaningful stories aren't announced, they're felt. If you've ever held back tears at work, if you've ever smiled through exhaustion, if you've ever carried weight no one could see, then you understood Kelly's moment more than any headline ever could. Because it wasn't about breaking down, it was about being human. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment like this? If this story resonated with you, tap like to support real conversations. Subscribe for thoughtful, respectful coverage that looks beyond the headlines. Some stories don't need speculation, they just need understanding. And sometimes, the quiet moments speak the loudest. There are moments on live television that feel rehearsed, polished, and safe. And then there are moments that stop everything. Moments so raw and unguarded that you can feel the silence through the screen. One such moment unfolded with Kelly Ripa. For viewers, it looked like a sudden on-air breakdown, a pause too long, a voice that trembled, eyes that tried not to spill over. Headlines rushed in, social media speculated wildly. Some called it exhaustion, others whispered about family, marriage, pressure, or something far more serious. But today, we're doing something different. We're stepping away from sensational guesses and into the unseen footage, the overlooked cues, the subtle moments before and after, to understand what really led to that emotional breaking point and why it mattered so deeply, not just to Kelly Ripa, but to Mark Consuelos, their family, and millions watching who saw a piece of themselves reflected back. This is not gossip. This is context. This is the emotional truth behind a moment the world barely understood.
There are no retakes, no pauses to gather yourself, no space to fall apart quietly. When Kelly Ripa faltered on air, it wasn't dramatic in the way tabloids crave. There was no collapse, no loud crying. Instead, it was something more unsettling, controlled emotions slipping through practiced professionalism. Her voice softened, her eyes glistened, her words slowed, as if each one required effort. For longtime viewers, this wasn't normal. Kelly has built a career on energy, humor, and emotional intelligence. She knows how to navigate heavy topics with grace. That's why this moment felt different. It wasn't scripted vulnerability. It was real and slightly out of control. What most viewers didn't notice, however, were the seconds leading up to it. Before the camera cut to Kelly, there was a brief exchange, a glance, a breath, a pause that didn't make it into highlight clips. Producers later confirmed that Kelly had already been emotional before the segment officially began. Her posture was tense, her hands clasped tightly, her expression distant. This wasn't reaction, it was buildup. Behind the scenes, those moments matter more than what happens on air. They suggest that the breakdown didn't come from a single sentence or topic, but from accumulated emotional weight finally reaching its limit. And that weight had been building for weeks. Kelly Ripa's life appears glamorous. Successful career, loving family, decades-long marriage. But beneath that image is a reality many working parents, partners, and public figures quietly share. Relentless responsibility. She wakes before dawn. She carries the emotional tone of a national morning show. She balances motherhood, marriage, and public scrutiny, all while expected to smile. And in recent months, that pressure had intensified. Major transitions at work, constant public commentary, the challenge of sharing a professional space with her husband, Mark Consuelos, blending marriage and career in a way few couples could sustain. Kelly wasn't just showing up to work, she was holding together multiple worlds at once. To understand Kelly's moment, you have to understand Mark's role in it. Mark Consuelos is not just her co-host, he's her partner of nearly 3 decades. Their chemistry on screen is real because their lives off-screen are deeply intertwined. But that closeness also means shared stress. When one struggles, the other feels it. Sources close to the show revealed that Kelly had been emotionally protective of Mark during this period, not because of scandal, but because of private pressures that didn't belong on camera. Sometimes love doesn't look like grand gestures. Sometimes it looks like holding everything together until you can't anymore. That on-air moment wasn't just Kelly's, it was the visible edge of a shared emotional load.